Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring myself under the guise of Medon Lord with the Lizardmen Horde up against Slobby Robbie and the Knights of Kaldor. Should be a really good fun showdown. We're bringing some pretty crazy units on both sides. So let's hop in here and have a quick little look at the builds. So over on this far right hand side we do have some mighty Pterodon riders, fantastic skirmish flying cavalry, which can be used just to pop into the back line, try and shut down archer corps, artillery pieces and the like, and they're certainly going to be needed because we have some hefty big boys in our build. Before we get to them, however, we do have some skink cohorts dotted on either flank, looks like 3 units to be precise, one of which is been left in tactical reserve here. We have a unit of red-crested skinks in the central pocket, as well as some Saurus warriors with shields to add a bit more meat to the bones of this battle line. For a nice little skirmish contingent, we do have double chameleon skinks. Really good at counter skirmishing up against Illyrian Reavers and the like, and can do big damage to dragons over the course of a whole battle, poison and slow down enemy units. We do have an ancient salamander. Susan herself is making her way through the undergrowth here, and ancient salamanders are incredibly risky because they have a very small HP pool and can be run over quite easy as well by cavalry and so forth, but at the same time, up against the tightly packed formation of the High Elves, they can do some really lovely burst damage and be used quite effectively to take down elite High Elf infantry. We do of course have a mighty dread Saurian marching straight through a tree here, and looking pretty ferocious as he does do so. That must be really uncomfortable trying to push that tree for him. But yeah, an absolute beast. And of course, Dread Saurian is not the most competitive pick necessarily, but they are very good at destroying cavalry, and cavalry is something which can punish the rest of my build, so I thought Dread Saurian would be rather fun. Of course, we have Kroq-Gar himself riding, screaming victoriously on the back of Grimlock here, coming in with Hand of the Gods, Swiftness of Itzel, Deadly Onslaught, as well as the Sacred Spawning. So coming in with all the goodies, and I've been using Kroq-Gar quite a lot recently on ladder, having massive fun with him. I think he's actually very underrated as far as lords go, but that could be due to the fact Lizardmen have a great kind of set of lords all round. We also have a little skink Priest of Heavens. Anyone who's seen my Lizardman play before knows I love Curse of Midnight Wind bombs with big scary dinos and the like. We also have a Wind Blast to help deal with enemy archers. So for my opponent's build here, he does have a load of spearmen dotted along the front line. Looks like they are escorting a mage of high magic who has Tempest, Soul Quench and Apotheosis. And let's cast an Overcast Tempest, which would just straight up kill that unit of Pterodon Riders. So lovely pick for my opponent straight out of the gate. We have some white lines of Trace as well in the secondary battle line, flanking 2 Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, looking to put some long range pressure on me. And then we have double Dragon Princes with a glorious Knights of Kaldor colour scheme. The dark red and white is a really ferocious, but at the same time quite regal colour scheme. Their shields in particular make them look very kind of, they live up to the name. Up in the skies, we do have the mighty Prince Imric, which is the only way to play the Knights of Kaldor in my humble opinion. Coming with, of course, with all his buffs. And he does come in with the Lord of Dragons, which is one of the most powerful hexes in the game because it can be targeted on units and characters. Minus 24 melee defense and minus 40 attack. Also has the Dragon Horn and Starlance. So he's certainly going to be trying to hunt down Kroq-Gar and that Dread Saurian. But Kroq-Gar can give as good as he gets up against most lords. And for the most part, though, at the moment, he's zigzagging back and forth, trying to teach Bran Stark a thing or two, trying his best to dodge those bolt thrower shots, although it looks like they are going to be switching targets onto the Dread Saurian, who is equally being adept at dodging right now, bouncing it back and forth, swerving underneath those strikes. So we've already lost a little bit of our backline pressure. We only have 1 unit of Pterodon Riders left. Yeah, Soul Quench does go up as well. It looks like it is going to take down just one model and does some okay HP damage. Not sure if that one was worth it quite as much as the Tempest. But these Pterodons are going to be really key to break into that back line. Chameleon Skinks as well, taking a bit of a breath attack for their troubles. Well, they are getting a little bit of a tit for tat of Imric there, doing some pretty decent damage at the same time. So on the left hand side here, we are going to try to lap up and around past these spearmen with the Dread Saurian and Kroq-Gar to get into that juicier back line. And a unit of skink cohorts has managed to force their way through this little gap in the battle line. And they're basically going to be used as a sacrificial lamb to try and shut down the bolt throws for as long as possible, force Imric to land, all these Dragon Princes to come out of hiding, who we have luckily spotted because of our ever loyal Pterodon Riders. Ancient Salamanders doing some lovely burst damage in the front lines onto these spearmen, already up to 42 kills, as the Saurus do lag behind slightly. Chameleon Skinks are being pushed away by my opponent, which is a nice play by him, using the spearmen and their shields kind of to sacrifice and push them guys away from the key target, which of course is Imric here. Kroq-Gar and the Dread Saurian are quite happily chewing their way through the enemy. A big fat Hand of the Gods does come in, but that delivery is not making it in time for Christmas, as the mage does hide behind some Dragon Princes. A big Curse of the Midnight Wind has gone down. It's going to be nuking the armor stats and melee attack of all of these units in this little section right here. So Kroq-Gar and the Dread Saurian for now going to quite happily be shutting down the back line. Eagle Claw bolt throws are pretty much done for at this point. These Pterodon Riders should be able to rally and come back and float over onto the Eagle Claws and finish them off. But in the front line there's a nice pocket of strength by my opponent, where the Ancient Salamander is loving launching and vomiting up some of those fireballs into this battle line. Although it looks like they also hit the Dragon Princes a little bit, which is a really bad target because of course they do come with that lovely fire resistance. Kroq-Gar with Deadly Onslaught popped is going to be saying hello to that pesky mage of high magic who slaughtered his skink friends earlier, and going to be driving him off the battlefield, terrifying him away at least for now. He does have a good chance of coming back, although the Dread Saurian skinks do unleash a salvo of poison darts from the back there to do a little bit of damage. Kroq-Gar though is trying to prove once and for all who is the apex predator, the king of the jungle, king of the lizard folk. Is it Kroq-Gar or is it Imric? Only time will tell, and there's rather elite Dragon Princes in here, so Imric is being a little bit underhanded, trying to get some of his buddies in, so Kroq-Gar's going to play that game as well, bringing in the Dread Saurian. Imric slams Kroq-Gar to the ground there. Of course, Grimlock will get up, probably not be too happy about that at all. So opponent does have Apotheosis healing up Imric, and he did have a Lord of Dragons on Kroq-Gar for a considerable amount of time there, so there's a rather close fight. In the background here, the Chameleon Skinks finally going to kind of disengage from these spearmen who are being cleaned up and chased off by our completely deliberate tactical reserve skink cohorts. And down here, looks like we are going to get a Soul Quencher from the mage, but she misses! The Skink Priest dodges at the last second, and actually does a little bit of friendly fire. Ancient Salamander now darting into combat to try and munch down that mage. And if we can get her off the battlefield, I'm in a pretty comfortable position, I think, as Imric with Curse of Midnight Wind on him is being forced back by the ever-ferocious Kroq-Gar and Dread Saurian Bromance. Imric does float up into the skies, but instantly hops down the Chameleons, realising he needs to shut these guys down, as those darts are pretty painful, and a Hand of Gods right up the bum here of Imric. He's not going to be having too good a time. And yeah, Kroq-Gar is certainly on the prowl. Dread Saurian's having a good time up against Dragon Princes in sustained combat. The Dread Saurian will, of course, win that fight. Elsewhere, Dragon Princes are running over troops, but with a little squeal there, a little puff of air, the dragon goes down. And that's pretty much going to be game, as the rest of the High Elf forces do indeed break and run for cover of Ulthuan, perhaps. So a Pyrrhic victory, lost a lot of troops. It was certainly a really fun game. Very well played to Slobby Robbie there. Now, I believe he is a newer player on the scene, basically, because he did say he was a little bit nervous about playing a multiplayer game, but still, I thought he did really well. And guys, as well, if you're sending replays to me, you don't feel like you have to be the greatest player of all time or anything. As long as the game is fun, you've got a good chance of having it shown and stuff. And often newer players come up with some really fun and interesting tactics, as the meta can get a little bit stale with the tournament scene and so forth. Although at the moment it's in a really good place, I think, and people are coming with some real inventive builds. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and happy Christmas Eve to you guys, and anyone who is watching this in different parts of the world, or perhaps at a later date. Happy Christmas, and happy New Year and all that kind of good stuff. Hope you guys get everything you wish for, and have a good year going into the future. Anyway, for the mighty Slobby Robbie here, Imric certainly did a pretty decent job all round, although didn't get his value back. And this is one of the problems with Imric. Yes, he's this awesome terror-causing, just going to punch whatever he hits in the face harder than it will punch him. But he is horrifically expensive, so he really has to carry a game on his back. Up against the Lizardmen, he can certainly do that, hunting down large dinosaurs and so forth. Big breath attacks on Temple Guard, he can really make some massive value back. Unfortunately for him, his main targets here, apart from maybe the Ancient Salamander, who he could have pestered, was really the Dread Saurian and Kroq-Gar, who were the ultimate bros this game. They were watching each other's backs and basically standing side by side a lot of it, and he can't take on both of them in one go. It's simply too much dino for one man to handle. Apart from that, Dragon Prince has got pretty decent kills across the board, but again lacked their damage value, and that's the same with the Eagle Claw Bolt Throws, who did some nice pressure early on, but because the targeting was kind of at those the two dinosaurs, I managed to keep juking shots left and right before starting to harass with skinks, shut them down, and really swarm over the Knights of Caledor forces. As for ourselves, Kroq-Gar, as I spoke about earlier on, is I think a really underrated lord all round. Over 3,000 damage value, and he still has about 3/4 of his health left at the end of the fight, so plenty more to give. I was really trying to get a damage value of up over 4,000 recently with Kroq-Gar, because I think he certainly has that potential. One Hand of the Gods did whiff, but the second one helped slaughter Imric, put him to the sword, and end the game a little bit early. So there still was a lot of Dragon Princes kind of reaving around and clearing up the majority of my forces, but I think Kroq-Gar and the mighty Dread Saurian, who equally did over 3,000 damage value, 11,000 damage dealt, did very well here. And it's a risky build, but it was certainly a fun one all round. Ancient Salamander holding its weight as well. kind of doing big burst damage. There wasn't too many key targets for it to hit, like Phoenix Guard or Sword Masters or anything along those lines, but it really helped us break through the Spearman wall as early as possible, which then allowed us to swarm into the back line, and also even got her fangs a little bit wet on elvish blood, hopping onto the mage and forcing her off in vengeance of that really nice Tempest that Slobby Robbie did at the start of the game. Alright guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.